This is not me saying I'm the most influential guy in fintech. It's actually one of the media companies. But I thought that's quite a nice thing to say because I spent all my life in banking and finance and technology. And so I kind of know a lot about it. And I've written lots of books about it, as you just heard. Over 20, in fact, more than 80. And there's a free one which you can give to your younger siblings if you have them. Fintech for Kids. You can find that on my website. And it's a giveaway. So I talk about fintech, finance and technology. And it's really interesting right now because it's kind of turbocharged. And specifically, I wake up every morning and ask myself one question. What's the future? Where are we going? What's going to happen next? You know, this is what I think about every single day. What's the future of finance and technology? Where's it all going? Although I've referred from Kung Fu Panda, just to override a comment, that today is still present. But the thing is, you can't change yesterday. You can change tomorrow, and today is your present. So make the most of it. When I look at the future, we spend all of our time looking at it from a number of different dimensions: political, economic, social, and technological, the primary ones, or they're the ones that I use. We also do scenario modeling. We look at how we can build a different world and a different view. And a lot of it is based around things that we try and understand, but an awful lot of it is guesswork. We try and work out the future. Now, I understand technology intimately, but I've got no idea about politics and economics. When I look at technology, nearly all the technologies that are today in your home, I could have seen coming 30 years ago, and I did for many of them. And right now, these are the ones that excite me the most. A lot of us are talking all the time about artificial intelligence, because that's really key. But the metaverse, the augmented virtual worlds that we're going to be living in the next few years, the next generation of our mobile technologies and the speed where everyone is connected everywhere around the world are transformational. And you know, going back to when I was your age, we didn't even have computers. We just had textbooks and paper notes. How the world has changed. I'm specifically interested in some technologies like quantum computing. Do any of you know about quantum computing and Schrodinger's cat? You? One. Good for you. I won't go into it because it's really complicated, but basically Schrodinger had this idea with Albert Einstein about putting a cat in a box with poison, and you wouldn't know whether the cat was dead or alive until you opened the box. And that's the basis for quantum computing and qubits. You don't know if it's a 1 or a 0 until you open the qubit. I'm not going to go there, except to say it's massively transformational because we get to the stage with Google's latest experiments with Willow, which is their chip, can process what was 10 septillion years of data in minutes. And a septillion year, you know, that's like the beginning of time. If you were counting, if you started counting up for the next years, go back to the beginning of time, that's when you started counting, in fact, before that. And we've got the same with artificial intelligence, and the artificial intelligence can now do, 7 years work in fact, not 2 days, in a few minutes. JP Morgan Chase, who I deal with, is one of the big banks, have worked out that they can get rid of 1,500 lawyers with artificial intelligence checking contract wordings, because the AI can do that in a minute that previously would take 350,000 hours. So the world is changing at fast pace, and this is one of the big things that I say all the time these days, which is the only constant is change. The only thing we deal with is change. And when we look at artificial intelligence, the change is happening really quickly, although it's been bubbling for 70 years. It's not you. Alan Turing, going back to the 1930s, created the Turing test that said when in the computer we would be convincing as a human being, then that's when we got to the stage of sentient beings and artificial intelligence is matured. And artificial intelligence is both physical as in the Arrow robot, which if you haven't seen came out the other day at the Computer Electronics Show in Las Vegas, or Los Angeles rather. And it's also digital. ChatGPT is digital and the robots are the physical. And this is something that as you grow up, you're going to see all around you all the time. And a lot of people fear these technologies. They think it's the Terminator, particularly the robots. They're going to kill us. Whereas some of us, and LW, have you seen the film here? Have you seen the film now? Anyone? You have seen it? If you haven't, go on, watch it. He falls in love with the sentient being of his artificial intelligence system, which is actually Scarlett Johansson. That's another story. So I'm going to ask you quick questions, and this time we do actually have to raise your hands, otherwise this doesn't work. Is this fake or real? Fake? Real? What about this one? Fake or real? Fake? Real? What about this one? Fake? Real? They're all fake. I didn't put one real one in there, and I did that on photos just because I wanted to trick you. You can tell it's faked a little bit because AI is not very good at doing hands and fingers, and there's some giveaways. But what I'm getting at is that we live in a world full of deep fake, and we need to be alert to the fact that AI is going to make our world a lot better, because you'll have to do a lot less work. But equally, it's really full of assets, because we don't understand the indications of where it's got to yet. It's early days. The Americans call an aubergine an eggplant. Hence they are. That's not what I asked for, but that's an eggplant. What about a butterfly? How does a butterfly? Oh yeah, thanks AI. Yeah, AI is dumb and stupid, and it doesn't create, it regurgitates. Yeah, it's not actually something that's doing anything itself. It doesn't think. It takes our thinking and regurgitates it. And what's actually happening, and if you haven't heard this phrase, all of you are growing up with a digital twin. So you know you are you. But on the mobile network and the system that we live in today that's connected, there's another you that's digitalized. And the problem with that is I could get at the digital you and fake it. How can you prove you are you if I faked you? I know how to do it. A lot of people know how to do it, particularly in the criminal fraternity. That's what I deal with in finance and technology. How can you prove you are you? It used to be that we'd say no one knows you're a dog on the internet. These days, no one knows it's you on the internet. I mean, Brad Pitt got duped. Well, actually, he didn't. A lady in France did. She gave him $1 million, and it was an AI-generated Brad Pitt. Doesn't exist. Lots of people get caught in romance scams and all sorts of other deep fake scams where they can believe they're dealing with a human. They're not. We just had elections in Germany, and the Alternative for Deutschland party, AfD, had this lady, Alyssa, who was talking every day about why you should vote for them, and she's not real. AI generated, but huge influencer. And a lot of those went to the AfD for that reason. Bottom line is, and I know you'll understand this, but I think a lot of people are just learning it. Whatever you see on the internet, check, verify. Don't believe what you see on the internet. As Abe Lincoln said. So many scams and fakes, and a lot of privacy issues and things that with your digital twin can be attacked, leveraged, hacked, and make you uncertain of your future. What's the solution? Well, we're working on solutions, particularly in the financial industry and a lot of fintech companies. And the solutions are all about identity and verification and authentication and trust. how can I really trust you are you? And vice versa, how do you trust I am I? Because everything can get completely undermined by technology, and particularly artificial intelligence. And this is something that's moving at the speed of change, because the only constant is change. But digital identity is one of the biggest areas that everyone's working on. The problem we have with digital identity is it needs a government to issue identity, people would say, a bank to verify your identity, people say, and you and your colleagues to accept that identity is valid, people say. And the reason why I say people say is that no one can agree on these things. We're trying to work on them at the moment using distributed ledger technology and the blockchain. It came out of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, and all the banks were in this area. But it's really difficult because no one can agree anything. The banks don't agree with the governments don't agree with the banks. The government doesn't agree with the industries and certification authorities and the verification authorities. So you end up with driving licenses, passports, and all sorts of other MID to try to prove you are you. And yet they're physical, and you don't use them digitally, or not well anyway. So what? Well, what it means is, coming back to where I started, for all of you, you are at the youth of today and can recognize the only constant is change. Do not accept static status quo reality. Recognize that you can challenge everything. And particularly when you look at the jobs of the future, what job will you have when AI can automate and regurgitate everything? But there will be jobs. There'll be jobs around empathy and relationships, and particularly being human. But equally, a lot of jobs around training AI to do what it does, then maintaining AI to do what it does, and sustaining AI to do what it does. And I'm going to finish with, I guess, my key message, and going back to the only constant is change, is that this is my dog, Ziggy. I hate him. Well, I don't hate him. I've got used to him. But we got him as a pandemic puppy, and it was an absolute pain in the backside, because all he did all day was chew, scratch, destroy everything, and leave horrible messes everywhere. And it was really difficult. And what happened is, Ziggy's now 4 years old, so he behaves. Sit, drop, fetch, all that stuff. So that's why I like him. I didn't like him as a puppy very much, because I never had a dog before. I'm catless. But what I realised is Ziggy's got Stockholm syndrome. Basically, he loves me because I feed him and walk him every day. And at the same time, I'm his captor. He don't allow him to go out the garden on his own because he runs away. So when we do go out, he's always on the lead. And he accepts now that that's his life. And that's how I think an awful lot of people, when they come out of education, behave when they go to work. They become captives of their companies. They stop questioning what the company does and the stupid things that happen in the company. And when they join, they want to go around everywhere, kicking the walls and writing on the ceiling and challenging everything. And then they give it up because they're back to his submission, a bit like the pandemic dog. And my message to all of you is, don't be that person. When you get out there, question everything. Because otherwise, you become a slave to the business. And that's not something you want to be. You want to keep your head agile and challenging and thinking all the time. Because the only constant is change. And the only way you'll get away with the constant change is by thinking and being yourself. In fact, Charles Darwin, this guy, said this in The Origin of Species, that it's not being fit or fast or strong, it's being the most adaptable to change. Got message? Thank you.